Okay, let's talk. My topic of choice is trans people, mostly trans boys. My boyfriend is trans, and he comes to me a lot, and he's like, babe, I'm really unhappy with my body. I have dysphoria because I have wide hips. And I'm just like, that doesn't make you any less masculine, babe. And he's like, but yes, it does. A lot of guys don't have wide hips. And I'm just really bothered by this toxic masculinity all these trans boys are kind of forced to live by. And I feel like a lot of them would just be a lot happier if they realized they don't have to fit into society's definition of masculinity, which really isn't. It's really fragile and kind of pitiful. But like, you know, I feel like they shouldn't have to fit into that in order to be masculine. They can just be themselves. And that includes like the femme trans boys, because you can still be a boy and be feminine. There's lots of feminine guys out there. Like, you know, you got wide hips, but you're trans, and you're still a dude. Got big boobs, still a dude. You say you're a dude, and you really feel it, and you're a dude. And like, a lot of guys who are trans aren't allowed to bind, or they can't bind for some reason. And I think that's like this huge big deal that makes them unable to pass or whatever. But it's like, who gives a dilly darn crap about what everybody else thinks you look like, you know? It doesn't matter as long as you know that you're you, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Like Zach, who is my boyfriend, he's not allowed to chest bind. And to him, it's like really bad that he's not able to chest bind. And he gets really upset because people see his breasts and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I called you a dude, you're a girl. And I'm just telling them, I'm like, you just gotta tell them they're wrong. You gotta be like, no, I'm a dude. It's really not that hard. I get there's like a sense of nervousness that comes with it, and I, as a cis female, should not say it's the easiest thing in the world, because I know it's probably not. But like, it doesn't hurt to try. You never know. You might get somebody who's gonna be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were trans. Or you might get somebody who's gonna be like, no, you have boobs, you're a girl. But who cares? They're not you. Doesn't matter what they think. It's just like, I don't see why everybody makes it so hard for trans people. They're just people. We're all human, you know? And the whole Donald Trump shutting off the bathrooms thing, making it so that they're not protected in the bathrooms, to me is a huge deal. Because I know a lot of people, I don't know people, but I'm saying I know that a lot of people are more comfortable going in the bathroom they feel is right for them. And being forced to go into their birth gender's bathroom is like uncomfortable for them because they feel like they're like a girl going into a restroom full of men. And what do you think is going to happen if those guys in the restroom recognize that this person is a trans woman and start freaking harassing her? Like, does that really not cross through these people who's changing this minds? It makes sense. I saw this article one time. This woman in Orlando, Florida, she said she was going to carry her assault rifle into the bathrooms with her. And I was just like, who do you think kids are going to be more terrified of, a trans person or you with an assault rifle? Those people are so ridiculous sometimes. We're all human. I wish people would just realize and recognize that we're all human, you know? We're all human. There is no difference between us except for maybe our beliefs. But why do we have to let that separate us, you know? It's gross. The hate, the discrimination. Like, Trump is just like, oh, I'm an ally to the LGBT community. And then he's like, oh, trans bathrooms? Nah. And I'm just like, boy, what do you think that T stands for? Tangerine? It's just ridiculous. I feel like if we all kind of just put our differences aside, especially about that matter, a lot of people would be a lot happier and a lot safer in the world. I saw another article the day after Trump got inaugurated into the office that a trans woman's car had been set on fire and had Trump spray painted on the side of it. And I'm just like, oh my God, who would do such a thing? You know, it's just really horrible. I don't understand why people would go out of their way to wreck somebody's car because they're transgender. You know, that's just really messed up. I wish I had the links to those stories that I could provide in the comments so it doesn't seem like I'm just talking out of my butt here. But I'm trusting that you'll trust me, that I know what I'm talking about somewhat. I know I'm a white girl and I'm like super privileged and everything, and I really shouldn't have the right to talk about all of this, but I feel like advocacy from people like me is like super important. It affects a lot of people. And I don't see how some people can just not care about that. Like my grandfather, I tried to talk to him about it. I love having political discussions with him, even though he's a Trump supporter and has like no sense of logic sometimes, especially when it comes to those matters. But I love having those discussions with him because I get to hear his point of view. And I was talking to him about the trans bathroom thing. And he was like, oh, but like some of those people are just going in there to rape people. And that's funny to me because that's like 2% of all people going into the bathroom as trans people. Probably even less than that. And there was another issue I compared it to. What was it? I don't remember. It was another one where 2% of people were bad. Oh, it was the abortion thing. Like, we should shut off all abortions because most of the people aren't using birth control. But what about the 2% of people who are? And something really bad just happens to them. And my grandfather was like, oh, that's only 2%. But what about the transgender bathrooms? Only 2% of those people are rapists. It's just, I wish these people would have some logic. I saw this funny post where this guy was going around at a Trump rally and asking them questions. And there was this woman, and he was asking her about gays. And she was like, oh, no, they shouldn't have equal rights. The straight people have worked so hard, you know? And the gays, they just want more. And he was like, and by more you mean equal rights? And she was like, yeah. Like, I can't see and understand what the problem with trans people is. Like, just let them live their lives. I mean, come on. Are they really hurting you? They're not. I know they're not. They're just bothering you, and that's not really harmful at all. Like, my boyfriend's parents don't let him buy him because they just kind of don't understand. They still love him to death, okay? They love him so much. They refuse to call him Zach because, yeah, they don't understand and they think it's ridiculous. But they still love him. You have to realize a lot of these parents who aren't going by what the trans kid wants them to go by, they're not being, like, jerks, you know? They might be sometimes, but, like, most of the time they're just confused and they don't understand, and you really have to realize they don't understand. You have to take into account that they probably come from a whole nother generation than the trans kid. Like, my aunt, who just so happens to only be 2 years older than me. I'm like 18 months. She is gender fluid. She wanted to change her name to Max. She hasn't told her parents because she doesn't want to deal with them because they're really elderly Christian people. Or Catholic, I don't remember. I don't know the difference. And she changed her name on social media, and her mom, who is my grandmother, jumped down her throat about it. That is not cool. That's not the way I feel like parents should deal with their kids wanting to come out as something like that. Because, I mean, come on, that's your kid, man. Have a little sympathy. There's no reason to be a jerk about it. They just want to be themselves. What's so wrong about that? And she doesn't even make a big deal about it either. It doesn't stand for like a masculine Max. It's Maxine, which is a female name. And she only wanted to change it because she doesn't like her name. Now, I know a lot of trans people's parents don't want to call them by the other name because they thought of that name